got chickens here. We got some lovely chickens here. We got some weird-looking chickens here. So this is 4-3. I was getting there. And one of the things that I hate about the way biology is taught, and you may have had this in middle school, brown eyes are dominant, and that's a big B, and blue eyes are recessive, and that's a little b. And so when we have heterozygous brown-eyed parents, they can have a blue-eyed baby. And you know that that's complete and utter garbage, right? Look at the eyes of whoever's sitting next to you. Here, I'll come over and stare into some of your eyes. Well, that's beautiful.
I was saying the chicken
That's
looks like
super
it's on
dilated. Okay, yeah, it does. So eye color is not simple, is it? Eye color is not simple at all. It's complicated because it's actually controlled by more than one gene. So some traits are monogenic. That's a vocabulary word. Controlled by how many genes? One. Mono.
Oh, mono.
Monogenic, controlled by one single gene. But a lot of traits like eye color are actually polygenic. So they are controlled by multiple genes. In some cases it's 2 or 3 or 5, and they have to be in different positions, and you get variations depending on how many of those genes are active. I mean, that's how we've got probably 13 different eye colors in here. There isn't even one color of brown. I've seen eyes that are like chocolate brown. I've seen eyes, my friend's son's eyes are almost copper colored. They're super pretty. You know, because it's polygenic. There are multiple genes that are influencing the phenotype. Well, what we have too often done in high school biology is simplify things like eye color, hair color, you know. It's one gene. No, it's not. Don't lie to kids. So I try really hard to make sure that I'm giving you characteristics that are actually monogenic and are a simple, dominant, recessive. So it's hard to find those. And as it turns out, chickens have 2. There are actually 4 that we know of in chickens, but there are 2 that we're going to talk about. And those are comb and shanks. You know what the chicken shanks are, right? Legs, yeah. The lower part of the leg. So this is a single comb, and it's just a single row of fleshy tissue that starts at the beak and goes back to the head. This is what's called a rose comb. And it's all sort of crenellated, and it looks kind of like a flower. They're really pretty. Then you have, and I have never had feathered shank chickens. I think they're freaky and weird looking. I know, that's a breed called a Brahmin. That is a feathered shank. Aren't they creepy? It does, it's wearing feather pants. So those are feathered shanks, and these are referred to as clean shanks, which I much prefer. So we've got 2 traits, rose comb versus single comb, feathered shank versus clean shank. Rose comb is dominant to single comb. What do you think is dominant in the shanks? Feathered, which is weird because you don't see a whole lot of breeds that have feathered shanks. But feathered shanks are actually dominant. So we're going to give that a big F. And we'll give the clean shanks, which I guess is good because that means if you have a herd of chickens that all have clean shanks, can you produce a feathered shanked bird? No. Okay. Well, what genotype for feathered shank would you have to have clean shanks? You'd have to have little f to have clean.
Oh, clean.
Because it's recessive. So if you have a little, flock of clean shanks, you're not going to produce a feathered shank bird because, gosh, who wants one of those? Because oh my God, they get manure stuck in their feathers. It'd be terrible. I mean, the Brahmin literally have feathers on their toes. Would you like to walk around with feathered toes in poop? I would not.
No, thank you.
It's like long-haired dogs that get all the crusty stuff. Ugh. Yeah, exactly. It's terrible. It's just not sanitary. I No, it's gross. The things we talk about in here are outrageous. Okay, so let's say that we have 2 chickens. We have a rooster and a hen. And they are both heterozygous for both these traits. So write down their genotype. So the 2 parents, both heterozygous for both traits, hen and a rooster with rose combs and feathered shanks. We breed them, and we want to know what percentage of their offspring are going to have rose combs and clean shanks. What's our first step? So you're saying the first step is labeling the Punnett square. Is there a step before that? You got to figure out what the gamete combinations are. Yeah. So how about just writing down the parents' genotypes? That would work. So we got big R, big F, little f. This is notes. You should be writing it down. What gametes are they going to produce? So every time she produces an egg, every time he produces sperm, because they have the same genotypes. Big R, big F. Big R, little f. Little r, big F. Would everybody agree? Okay. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to copy all this to the next slide. Copy. Paste. Okay. And of course I've got the same combinations for each parent because they have the same genotypes. So go ahead and fill in the chart. You filling in your chart, Austin? Okay, so we're looking for the percentage of offspring with rose combs and clean shanks. Now, since we aren't asking for the ratios, we're not asking for that level of detail, we just want to know percentages. Do you have to go through all the ratios? No. We can literally just circle the ones that have rose combs and clean shanks and find the percentage of offspring. So let's start circling. Do we have any that don't have rose combs right off the bat? That whole lower corner is single combs, so we're not interested in them. The top corner. Okay, so there are no, that's got furry shanks, furry shanks, furry shanks. Oh, that whole row has got furry shanks. Because they all inherited a big F from a parent. Be the same way with this row.
And the row going across.
And this one. Oh boy, that made life easier. So let's check what we have left. Oh, the top row. Hey, you guys are good at this. So let's check what we have left. Does this have a rose comb and does it have clean shanks?
Yes.
Yes. What about this one?
Yes.
Yes. What about this one?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So that is there any more? No. So 3 out of 16, what percentage of offspring is that? Okay, so we take that 3 and divide by the 16 possibilities we came up with. And what we find is that roughly 19% of their offspring are going to have the rose comb and the clean shank. Now, let's say I give you some unknown species, but I don't tell you what's dominant and what's recessive. Maybe I don't know. But I take two parents that are heterozygous and I cross them, and I get 100 offspring. And of those 100 offspring, I get 59 with no tails and curly feathers. I get 22 with tails and curly feathers. I get 17 with tails and straight feathers. And I get 4 that have, no tails and straight feathers.
102.
I'm up to 102 already? Okay, well I got no tails, straight feathers, no tails, and darn it, I screwed something up here. No tails and curly feathers. Let's copy, cut. What did I do? Okay, there we go. So actually this should be tails and straight, and this should be tails and curly. Okay, well that was a long way around. Based on that data, and we've got a little bit over 100 offspring, which characteristics are dominant? No tails and curly. Because over 50% of the offspring produced have those two characteristics in a cross of two heterozygous parents. Tomorrow when you walk in, there's no recall quiz, but you're going to take a FIP quiz. And it's 3 questions, each with about 5 parts. It's worth 5 points. It's worth 10 points if you get them all right. So study up. I'm going to post my Quizlet set. If you need help with remembering what the vocab words mean, use it.